Tonight had been such a tiring night, and I couldn't wait to get home after taking the evening shift. I was so lonely and wanted to leave work. Life was redundant. Being a lark type of person, I prefer to do everything I can in the morning. Putting my keys into my car, I drove home. It was dusk. Everyone in town had always warned me about taking shortcuts through the alleys in our town, how they never return, and not wanting to risk things, I just followed what they said. There was some nice scenery to admire, nevertheless. Around me were clusters of pine trees, beautiful pink clouds above, and a large moon to the left. The car engine hummed like a peaceful drone, and a mile down the path, I saw that my gas started to run low. I wouldn't reach another gas station for the next hour. I then broke my anti-risk ritual. On the next block was a dark alley. Although I had never taken the alleys, I knew all of them were shortcuts to my home on 67th Avenue. Dense foggy air surrounded the car, and to my eyesight, all I could decipher was pitch black darkness. Without any signs in the alley, there just appeared to be a never-ending tunnel of darkness. Boom, thack, boom. My car engine made loud noises as if it was braking, and the car lights started to flicker. That was strange. This car was in perfect condition. Driving on the road, I already saw that one speculation about the road being bumpy was a false conviction. It was fine and dandy, until I had this sheer feeling of fear that someone was just watching me, and not just watching me, but as if their energy was in the back seat. I turned around. The back seat felt really cold. I kept driving. The mist was clouding my eyes, and too afraid, I sped the car fast to hurry on out. I didn't care if I was endangering any drug dealers that may be lurking around. A deafening high-pitched sound occupied my ears. I was almost out. When I reached the end of the tunnel, I saw the normal road. I breathed a sigh of relief, and that same chill entered my spine. To my horror, I saw a dark shadow in the back seat. Grabbing a pocket knife, I turned around and saw a teen girl. "I'm calling the cops," I yelled. The girl stared about, a bit afraid. She had a small dog with her. "Wait, ma'am, won't you talk? We're in the same boat." I couldn't help but look at her. I felt a great bond, a great connection. The words echoed in my mind. "Won't you talk?" I quacked silently. I didn't drive away. There I sat, 5 feet from being out of the alley. I held her puppy and started petting its head. It barked and smiled at me. It started jumping around and licking my arm. "Aw, Coconut really likes you. I'm sorry to have intruded on you. My name is Deborah." She showed me her hand. Wait, why was I not creeped out to be in the car with this person? I handed the dog back and told her to leave, but the car somehow started driving on its own. It made a right turn into the darkness that I could not see. But then I grabbed the pocket knife and threatened the teen. In an instant, she and the dog disappeared, and my car again was 5 feet away from the alley. I drove back home without a word of what happened. I called the cops. They told me that a bunch of druggies terrorize the alleys and no one comes back after staying. "I'm glad I didn't stay," I said to myself. I went to sleep and dismissed what happened. Dawn finally came. I saw a low peak of orange in the sky. Here is where I would continue my routine of waking up early, doing my hobbies, straight to work, and then going back home. This particular morning I was painting. I painted a barren grass field, but then I started to paint an alley in the grass fields. An hour passed. I couldn't bear the loneliness of watching all the people in their cars prepare for work. I too was supposed to go to work. I was sick and tired of all the zombie behavior. I felt a compelling need to see the girl. What's her name again? Deborah? Hurriedly, I got ready and ran out of the house into my car. As an excuse, I told myself that the day would protect me from being victimized. I passed some alleys on the way. Not wanting to drive another hour, I drove in a random alley. I drove all the way to the middle of the alley when I suddenly remembered that this wasn't the same alley from the previous night. I could have gotten lost. The car was still and silent. I waited for the teen to show up again. I waited as if that apparition, or whatever it was, would show up again. Closing my eyes, I felt a cold chill go up my spine. I saw the girl on a carnival horse. "Hey pal, I never got your name." She held out her hand. I told her my name. "Well, I'm not about to be kidnapped following you." "Oh, you outsiders say the same thing about the alley. I'll go outside the alley with you on the horse and show them wrong. We can both do this. Rule makers are jealous." By this moment, she came closer with the horse. Her dog from yesterday jumped happily on my car. We both got on the horse. I didn't want to be killed, but I guess I couldn't take the boredom either. The girl led on the horse. I was a bit fearful, but we started trotting back to where the road led. "I really missed the carnival," I said. "Luckily, my alley can accommodate." I started ignoring what she said, though, because I saw a carnival to the left. She kept on writing, as if nothing happened. "Hey, what's over there?" I yelled. The girl responded by telling me that she wants to keep her word, and if we're going to be friends, she wants to earn my trust. We reach the alley border. She turns and says, "Here's the fun part." We started riding really quickly up the adjacent hills. I called out to the mailman. "Hey mailman, the alley girl here showed me some of her cool stuff." He looked in confusion. "What girl?" I looked again. She wasn't there. "You go back to work now, young lady." He smiled and drove off. I furiously gained speed. I didn't know how to ride the horse, but I tried something. "Will you take me back to Deborah?" The horse seemed to understand what I said, and it turned back. We reached the front of the alley. The girl was right there at the border. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I can't leave the border. My people can't, even with Will." Disappointed, I yelled at her and started walking to the carnival by myself. Arcade music played in the background, and I saw all kinds of roller coasters, Ferris wheels, and games. Just how in the world can the townfolk not hear this establishment? I saw the girl. She was panting to catch up. "I really am sorry. The alleys are so secluded, and outsiders can't see what's going on." I found what she said to be strange. She held out her hand and showed me a pink pearl ring. I jumped into surprise. That was the same ring I wanted when I was a child. I held it, and she looked really apologetic. "I'll forgive you if you show me what you said was true," I said. "I really will. Enough of that now. Let's enjoy the carnival." We both went on the hang glider ride and ate cotton candy. I guess because it was early in the morning, there weren't any other people. My phone alarm rang. "Hey, I have to go to work," I said. "Okay, I'll wait here for you, always." I stopped in my tracks. She was like the best friend I never had. As I hopped in my car, she ran after me. "Here, I'll show you." Deborah stepped at the border. She put her foot out, but it disappeared. A cold chill came over me, but I wasn't freaked out like the other night. "I'm different from you," she replied. She shouted after me to join the party tonight. I declined. I found it too weird to have so much fun in one day. I actually just like going for night walks. "I'll bring my dog and another friend." Didn't want to bore you with my suggestions. I actually love doing that, she said. We have a lot in common. On the drive to work, I wondered how this strange apparition and I had so much in common. When work ended, I decided to drive to the alley near my job. I would sneak in without getting caught. I finally reached the alley and I waited at the very edge. A cold chill ran down my spine, and I heard barking. Deborah came up this time, holding costumes. She laughed. My boss called me. After forgetting what to say, I simply hung up. Deborah had something in her hand. She had drug paraphernalia, including a lighter and a metal spoon. I started to drive away, but she didn't move or anything. Maybe I came too early, I shouted. I drove out of the alley. The girl came to the border, and to my surprise, she just had Kool-Aid powder and candles. Another girl walked behind her with a pitcher jar. The other girl replied, "I'm having a film party. Would you like to go?" "Wait, I don't know you." "I know, but people should just be intimate and open when they meet. Deborah didn't want to go without you, but she got me the supplies to prepare for the party alone." The girl scowled at her, but then laughed. Thinking that the two were playing with my emotions and desires, I said, "I'll go if you have the party now, and if I can work at your film company." "Sure thing. We don't judge nor take long with any relations," they said in unison. I was thrilled out. I was creeped out but thrilled at their offer. A few minutes later, the two rushed with decorations. They invited one male teen my age and two more females over. I don't like big parties, you know. Us as well," Deborah and the girl said in unison. Strangely enough, I felt an even stronger bond before with these two. We ended up partying, and I had my dream job. And I ended up quitting my job. To my surprise, one of the guys came up and asked me for my number. I told him I would be back for the night walk. As I came around the tree, one of the guys came up to me and asked for my number. I told them I would be back, but just to call later. He gave me a kiss on the hand and a little hug, but not too intimate. I drove off and started blushing a lot. As I was driving, I approached a red light, and I thought to myself that it was creepy how no matter what alley I showed up to, Deborah and whatever companions would be available. I didn't want to be a victim of emotional play. I would go around armed with police gear, protection against ghosts, and force them to reveal themselves. I got home, and it was dark. All the neighbors had been off to sleep. It made me sad how, even in the city and rural areas, people are just too busy working and learning. I called the police and lied, telling them that someone was stalking me. But because we were close friends, they allowed me to take part in my decision. Nightfall came, and putting on my shields and bringing the weapons, I drove to the alley nearest my home. Reaching the border, 5 people showed up. The chill came quickly. Bam, thuck. I was horrified at the sound of Coconut licking my shoes playfully. I showed them my weapons and threatened to destroy the dwellers of the alley. They looked a bit scared. So they weren't emotionless, I supposed. Yet they never hurt or attacked me. People have tried to kill us all the time. We understand we're different than you. I threw my weapon in their direction. They backed away, but they were neither nonchalant nor ready to fight. Guess I provoked you and you never want me back. Guess I have to try hard to fit in with all of you even though I'm different. They responded by telling me that they wanted friends too, especially non-alley ones. That life should not be a competition. I was dumbfounded, but nevertheless, trotted around the block with my friends and held Coconut in my arm. She was like the pet I never had. We even made a campfire and told stories, and James held me in his arms and we held hands. I never wanted the night to end. It's as if all the last years were being filled again. Let me take a photo, you two. And you guys as well. I ignored the thought that people associate alleys with bad things all the time. I took the picture in my digital camera. The dog ran to the border and smiled. The shocking sight of a dog moving out its head and its head disappearing on its own was eerie, but I calmly smiled. I got home this night, but I couldn't sleep. I felt compelled to just stay in the alley. The alley just seemed to fill up the void I had all my life, and I couldn't get enough of it. Dawn came. This time, I didn't even wait to get ready, and I automatically jumped in my car and headed for the nearest alley. Wanting to figure out how the alley people were able to find me each time, I decided to keep driving on my own. I tried to figure out how the alleys connected and the whole gist of the driveways. The 4 people I met still didn't pop up, and I just kept driving along suspiciously. This time an old woman came. We went for a drive, and then went to a skydiving convention. Prepared to go home, I told the alley elders that my biggest concern right now is people. I too was shocked by what I said, being a person myself. I'll set off, guys. The old woman came back and offered me a ride. I packed you some food, sweetie. Be careful. Behind the old woman was a man. He offered me to stay in their home. I drove back home, not wanting to leave. I drove back home slowly. Someone with a look of concern came into my car. Don't you go driving in those alleys. We wouldn't want you missing. The man turned to me, and he had 3 other people. Don't you act like we don't see you driving in those places. There are druggies there. And are you there to join? I replied that I wasn't. Nor had I taken any drugs. I did something I never did before, and it ended up blowing my breath in their face to show I drank no alcohol. I was surprised at my action, and so were they. I got back home at 3 a.m. The following mornings, I didn't even get ready, and I drove straight to the alley. There I came dirty, and they would give me a room to stay at their place. I felt nice. Even the weather was to my liking, chilly with a warm sun, and the breakfast they prepared for me was great. The 4 people came with 2 more, and they knocked on my door. We were going about, hanging out with the neighborhood. Life was getting better. I passed some streets with them and saw beautiful vines and shrubbery growing around the alleys. You guys have beautiful taste, I cried out, and just sat in awe at the beauty. How's about we paint, I said. They agreed. Now I had people to do my hobbies with. I was worry and debt-free. This was the escape I had always been too afraid to admit. And then I said, people. I rolled my eyes. Glad to be an alley girl, I laughed. I left the alley, and days would pass that I continued doing this cyclic behavior. The mailman didn't argue, but followed me home. Feeling like I was being watched, I ran into my home and locked the door. Now weeks would pass where I followed the same behavior, only returning home when I needed time as an outsider. My first and last thoughts would be consumed with the alley. I no longer bought food and cut off contact with the townspeople. The pattern continued of me abandoning my normal old lifestyle in favor of companionship with the alley people. Even my errands were no longer done. Now, if I saw townsfolk, I'd just run away in fear, sick of the people and their ways. One morning, I got badly cut running away from a group of people who came to check my whereabouts, and blood rushed down my leg. I checked the old photo I took with the alley people. Sadly, they weren't in the picture. I saw that the phone calls did not register from the alley to the town, and even the letter I got vanished in my car. I proceeded to leave my old lifestyle as it was. A month passed. If you came to my house, you would see that my lawn was left uncut. Weeds grew all around the sidewalks, and my shed outside was rusting. I went home and packed up all of my stuff, and didn't take long enough because the alley people offered me with all the things I had ever wanted, and all that I would want. Finally, the time showed that it was 5 in the morning. Everything from my regular life was cut off. The alley was like a gateway to all my joys, escape from the pain I all too knowingly shunned away with the false dogma that I wasn't alone and things were okay. Things were not okay. I only felt sheer joy and contentment in the alleys. You wouldn't even have to waste time commuting long distances. Giving the town one last look, I disappeared into the alleys. I reached the alley. The cold chill down my spine now brought me pleasure, not fear. The people in the alley were like a shortcut to my heart. Reality was painful, ceaseless, and robotic. I never left the alley home. With all my desires handed to me, parent figures in my life, friends, and non-stop fun, all was going well. I guess this was my story. I came to understand why people who went in the alleys never returned. And the creepiest part of the story is that I never went back. I stayed here. I was like one of them now. There was no turning back. I finally checked what all the alley people wrote to me. The heart wants what it wants. The best way is a shortcut. I read the letter, and I wrote a letter back and left it in the alley street. To each man, his own, and with his own folly and demise. I turned around, as all of them gave me a creepy smile.